Welcome to PEP Talks with Eric, the podcast where self-work becomes system work. I'm your host, Eric Ayers, creator and author of SimRx, Transforming Healthcare, Leadership, and Culture by Design. This show is your space to shift perspectives, ignite action, and remember who you are and who we are in the process. Every week, we spark transformation, from burnout to breakthrough, from surviving to designing. You'll hear real stories, real tools, and real humans doing real work. So let's shift, let's build, and let's spark what's next together. I'll see you inside. Hey guys, welcome back to PEP Talks with Eric. I'm your host, Eric Ayers, and I'm so glad you're here today because we're talking about one of the most misunderstood truths in growth, healing, and leadership, at least in my opinion. And this is that small things aren't small. Not when they're done with intention. Intentionality is everything. And not when they're repeated. And not when you realize they're actually building something bigger than you can see at this moment. This episode is all about going from micro to macro. And to start, I want to give you a framework. The 80-20 rule. It says that 80% of our results often come from 20% of our efforts. What if the micro moments you're undervaluing are the exact things that are actually tipping the scale? It's not about doing more. It's about doing the right things again and again. Now, before we begin, I'm going to ask you to join me in something, because right now you could be in the car, you could be working, you could be chasing your kids, whatever it is you're doing. I'm going to ask you to pause and take one slow, deep breath with me. And we're going to go in for 5 seconds. We're going to hold it for 5 seconds, and we're going to let it go for 5 seconds. All right? Here we go. In for 5. Hold for 5. Out for 5. Now pay attention to how you feel, because this was simply 15 seconds in a different direction than you were going. This was intentional. There's a calm that comes because now, even though it's a small, micro thing that we did, we're focused on thriving now, because we can't breathe this way when we're in survival mode. I mean, think about it. If we're being chased by a tiger, we can't deep breathe. So the fact that we're telling our body it's okay to do deep breathing, we're telling our body you're safe and you can explore. All right. So that's just one key piece that we're going to tap into today. And this is just one small thing. It's a micro moment that can lead to macro changes. So something that happened, you guys are well aware of my story. And one of the most impactful aspects of micro versus macro that I can tell is the time that Jennifer said, hey, look for something good. It was a challenge, right? It was small. And this grand scale of this 12-hour shift I was about to embark on, plus the 20 to 30 minutes drive that preps and marinates my mind to show up in whatever person I need to be, and the drive home, all of that, if I do this one thing, it's very small. So look for something good. That's intentional and that's small. It's a micro. It's a micro movement. So I did. And I found something good. And here's the fascinating part. I didn't just stop and be like, cool, check that off the box. No, I was like, wait, I found what I was looking for. What else is good? And I expanded on it. And I created another micro step. And this continued to shift. And that moment of finding something good didn't change everything, but it made me realize everything had already changed. I just hadn't seen it yet. All right. And this is super important and powerful when we understand this micro to macro concept, because it's not immediate, it's not transactional. The micro moment is not the transformation, it's the seed of it. So the macro is what becomes visible when the micro finally accumulates enough energy to reveal it. All right. And what do I mean by that? We had these aha moments and we're like, oh, this was the pivotal point in this whole transformation. Was it? Or was it just enough micro moments to create the macro understanding? You do enough intentional micro moments throughout your day, every day. They seem insignificant. They are not insignificant. They are vastly significant. And you do these significant micro moments every day. Eventually, it creates a shift. It creates a change. Whether that be trading in dessert for, I'm going to take one bite of dessert and I'm going to intentionally chew slowly and enjoy and taste. And I'm going to experience this. I'm choosing to do this. And it's a micro moment. It leads into eventually, maybe we drop weight, maybe we become healthier. Because we think breakthroughs happen all at once. We think these overnight success stories are actually overnight success. No, they're not. They're years of micro successes leading to a macro success. It's scaling. That's all it is. It's scaling micro steps that we think are leaps and they're not. We're building a bridge. So we think these breakthroughs happen all at once, but they don't. They build slowly, quietly, sometimes invisibly, until one day we feel it, we see it, we live it. Micro is not less, it's simply earlier. And they are worth celebrating. So in the coaching realm, every micro win is a huge success. And it's worth celebrating because it allows us to identify that one step is better. One step forward is better than no step, and it's way better than one step back. And we all know the quote, a marathon begins with the first step. So without that step and the next one to follow and the next one and the next one, we'll never finish. All the steps are required. We get to focus on it. And this is huge. So what does micro to macro actually look like? Well, it's various. Like it varies so vastly. And so we're going to do this micro to macro lightning round. So let these land and feel them. Okay. So micro breath becomes macro peace. Micro presence, macro connection. Micro honesty, macro intimacy. Micro boundary, macro freedom. Micro movement, macro strength. Micro reflection, macro wisdom. Micro choice, macro change. Oh, that's huge. We make micro choices intentionally, daily, and they equate to a macro change in whatever those choices we are making. It could be, as I was reminded of earlier this morning with my group, of making the choice to live in a loving world instead of a hostile world. I make that choice. Thereby, I change my outer world as a loving world. Beautiful. Micro habits to macro identity, micro forgiveness, macro release, which is peace, micro courage, macro legacy, micro empathy equates to macro trust, and micro repetition becomes macro breakthroughs. One breath, one truth, one small shift, and that's the entire nervous system rewiring, especially when we repeat. And as we do these micro shifts, we're met with the world of possibility because it says, oh, wait, I think there's more of this. Thereby, I want to do it again. And the repetition of this intentional micro moment and movement creates this macro shift of what we're seeking. So, like, for example, in the SimRx system, this is everything because our micro interactions with our SimRx kits create macro cultural shifts in care. So it's not the kits that change the culture, it's the use of it as building blocks to continue and thereby create a culture of care. Our micro debriefs, intentional debriefs, create this macro psychological safety. And it's a psychological safety that's felt, right? And that's what we're after. As we do these, we feel the energy around it. And micro empathy with our patient kids become macro restoration of trust. And our micro accessibility through carts become macro systemic reach. And there's micro moments of design become macro evidence of empathy and practice. And this is what I mean. When we do the micro moments and the micro steps with intention, we are met with a output and an outcome that is way beyond what we could have designed in the beginning. Why? Because others become involved. And when others become involved, the macro shifts into a scalable dimension that, like, we don't have words to describe or even formulate in the beginning. That's the power of connection. That's the power of people. That's the power of community. And as I'm doing these micro moments for myself, I give you permission to do the same. And this is how we reciprocate. And we begin to shift perspectives, like one micro perspective at a time. And it's beautiful. And it happens innately because we want this. This is who we are, why we are, and what we're doing here in the first place. We're just setting the stage up for success. And we're celebrating the micro wins to create the macro victories. So these aren't just tools within our toolkit, they're rituals. And what I mean by rituals is they're repeated until they become culture, until they become the system, until they become the habitual patterns in which we formulate. Because what we're doing through this is we're reversing these negative feedback loops that we've created, which are habitual patterns that we've created over time. And we're reversing them. And instead of unintentionally creating what we live in, we're intentionally creating in it what we choose to live in. And that's huge. So, like, we can't just scale tech. We scale the intention. And the tech then becomes a tool. The diet becomes the tool. If we want to become healthy, for example, then we make micro shifts within our eating, our exercising. And I mean, taking a 5-minute walk is a huge step forward. Because once we do that, our body's going to say, Oh, that felt good. Let's do that again. And then the micro movements expand. And it innately happens, but we have to make the first step. And before the first step, we have to be intentional about it. We have to know where we want to go. And then we want to think about what is one thing I can do to get me closer to that goal. If it's to run a marathon, I need to take a first step. If it's to lose 50 pounds, I need to change one thing I'm eating. If it's to have this body move more fluidly, I need to do one thing that stretches these muscles or relieves this pain or whatever the case may be. I want to own my own business. What's one subject I can begin to research right now and spend 10 minutes on? It doesn't take all day. It takes one moment. And these moments add up. And that's what we're talking about. So everyday micro practices. So let's ground this. What are some micro practices that we can integrate into our daily life? We've gone over a few of these. One deep breath before replying. When someone says something to you and you feel an emotional trigger, an emotional response, sometimes that's all it takes before we reply. This works way better, or it's even more impactful with email because you don't have someone staring at you as you're doing this. So take a moment. Don't take an hour, take a moment. Tap back into that calm because that's who you are, not this habitual reaction that we have become accustomed to. One handwritten note each week. I learned this from one of our previous guests. She does handwritten letters. And she's still doing these. And we all know the feeling of when we receive a handwritten letter. So one handwritten note to someone becomes a micro moment for you and that person. I take pride in making lunches for my wife Jennifer and our daughter Adeline. And not every day, but I would say at least 50% of the time, I write a note in their lunch intentionally for that day. Could be funny, could be serious, but the goal is to give life to them and to let them know that they're appreciated and loved by another. And this helps me as well because this allows me to step into the role that I have within the family. And when I don't do it, that's okay. But when I do it, it leads to more cool macro moments as, as Jennifer shares with me, she's kept all of these. Right? Well, think about seeing a collection of 100 notes as opposed to one note. And this brings in the understanding of micro to macro. Think about that. That's really cool from my perspective as the giver in this. She's appreciated that so much that in me writing her notes, which allows me to tap into who I am, it's allowed her to feel appreciated, loved, cared for. And it's a reciprocation. So another is one honest check-in with your body. And this doesn't have to be, again, an hour-long meditative sit down. This can be in the middle of a busy work day and you're like, I need a break. You can go in the restroom, stand there for a minute breathe, recenter, check in. Where am I holding tension? Where am I feeling fatigue? What thoughts am I thinking that aren't mine? And you can let all that go, and you choose to. And think about if you do this every day, just once a day, the value that would bring, or one moment of stillness in the car before going inside wherever that is. If work is potentially stressing you out and you ride to work, what happens if you sit in your car for a moment? Setting the stage for the next steps. This is your step one, which will lead to your next step. Or if it's coming home and you're like, the kids are going to be wild. I need to chill. I need to center. Do that. You have permission to do this. And this is micro moments that create macro shifts. Think about when you walk in, if you're centered, when you are centered, when you're you, the impact you have on the reception of your children's energy, of your spouse's energy. Like that creates macro momentous shifts in our day-to-day lives, which creates a ripple into the rest of what we do. And think about one reflection before bed. And now, this is huge because this goes into the way that our brains work. And I mean, if we can reflect on one thing before bed and set the intention for the next day, then we get to marinate that in our subconscious mind and we're that much closer to the goal. So that's a huge one. That's a bonus points because that actually taps into our brain chemistry and the way that we flow. Remember, it's not what we do once. It's what we repeat that rewrites our stories. So the thing that we do is the pebble that drops into the water. And then the repetition of that is the ripples that go out and create this momentous shift. So here's your invitation. What's your micro today? Is it one deep breath before a conversation? Is it one moment of eye contact? Is it choosing to rest, to say no, to say yes to yourself? You don't have to change everything. In fact, if you try to change everything, chances are nothing will change. You just have to notice the moment you're in and choose something small on purpose. Micro moments are purposeful movements, purposeful moments in the direction you want to go. It doesn't have to be the direction everyone else is going. It doesn't have to be the same path. What direction do you want to go in? And pretty soon, after you begin your micro moments, you will have an aha moment of, how did I get here? Because the micro moments are hidden in our day to day until they're not. And then they're elevated in such a way that they feel so powerful that they actually empower us to move beyond this new level that we've heightened ourselves to. It gives us permission to build the next bridge. And we do these like in micro moments, in micro dosing, in micro movements. I mean, think about it. Whatever state you're in that you're wishing to change, whether it's mindset, whether it's a job that you're not loving, whether it's your body's not the way you want it to be and you want to drop 25 pounds. Did you get to this state overnight? Did you get to this state that you don't want like that? No. No, you didn't. You got here through micro moments, through micro decisions. And then you suddenly, once it got to scale, you realized this isn't what I want. I'm proposing that we shift this and we do the same thing for what we do want. And we reverse it. This is where I am. This is current circumstances. But it's not my reality. Because I got here subconsciously through following these micro moments blindly. And from this day forward, I'm choosing something else. And I'm choosing to make small decisions, small movements, small steps that create giant leaps. So, micro to macro is not magic. It's math. It's momentum. It's identity. You are always becoming. That is something Bob Proctor preached and taught about so much is we are spiritually perfect, and in our spirituality, we are always seeking expansion. We are always seeking for more, to be bigger, more aligned to a purpose, more purposeful, more. This is who we are. We are always becoming. The micro is the rehearsal. The macro is simply the moment you recognize who you've become. It's the moment I recognize who I've become. Guys, thank you for spending this moment with me. So be breath, be the shift, be the ripple, be the macro. The macro will meet you when it's ready. Feel that. Be the small moments, own them. And then the macro will meet you when it's ready. Better yet, when you're ready. Guys, if this resonated, if this landed, or even if you have questions, please reach out. Subscribe to this. Send it to someone you think needs to hear it. And let's keep this momentum going. And let's take these micro moments of sharing and create a ripple effect in our world that equates to a macro change. Because I'm so excited to see you next time. Until then, be well, be loved. Thank you for listening to Pep Talks with Eric. If something sparked today, pass it forward. Remember to subscribe and share it with someone who needs it. Keep doing the thing. Keep showing up. You're not alone in this. And we're not whole without you. I'll see you next time.